Last time we were talking about formulas and functions, and we want to go back to formulas and adjust it a little bit. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use this document called Absolute Cell Reference. It's on your list and it's available to you, and the idea is you'll follow along with me a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time understanding what formulas are doing naturally, and then how we can manipulate that. So I'm going to start out with this column here where it says add. And just to remind you of a couple of things. So I know that if I want to add these two numbers together, I'm going to click on the cell, I'm going to type the equal sign, and then I'm going to click on the number for 8, and then I'm going to add that to the number 11, and I'm going to hit enter. And I get 19. Then what I can do is, instead of doing that formula again, I'm going to click on the fill handle, that little square in the bottom right hand corner, click, drag, and when I let go, that formula has been copied down all the way. Now I'm going to double click on the top number, and if I look carefully it says A4 plus B4, which is the two cells I've added together. If I go down to one a little further down and double click on it, it says A8 plus B8. I never typed in A8 or B8. What I did was I typed in the formula, and then when I copied the formula down, it automatically updated. That often works and often does what I want it to do. But if you try it down here, if I were to say add 17 plus 5, I get 22. But if I were to copy that down, 17 and 8 is not 30. Because what happened is the formula got updated. So now instead of adding 5 and 17, then instead of, the first time I added 5 and 17, the next one doesn't do 8 and 17. It does 8 and 22, which is not what I want. Now one way to fix that, I suppose, would be to type in the formula of 8, well not 8, but that cell plus 17. And that works, except what I want to be able to do is have as much flexibility as possible. So I'm going to leave that for the time being, and I'll come back to that a little bit later. And I'm going to get rid of the 22 as well. You don't have to do that one as you're following along, because we know how that one works. What I want to do though is, if I look at this one here in the top right, this is going to become a multiplication table, and I'm going to leave this multiplication table, the 12 times table, I'm going to leave that with you. So I'm going to work through this one with you. So what I'm going to do is multiplication table. So I'm going to start out, I want equal sign, this number times that number. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy that down. Now it's going to not work out for us, and we'll find out why. Because 1 times 1 is 1, I agree. The next one is okay. 1 times 2, that's okay. But then here, 1 times 3, so 1 times 3 should not be 6, and neither should I have 24 or 120. And if I double click on the one that says 24, clearly what's happened is the numbers going down the column have updated, but so have the numbers that should have stayed along the top row. So I don't want that, and I'm going to get rid of all of those. And in fact, I'll get rid of that one as well. What I'm going to do is something called an absolute cell reference, and it uses a $sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the equal sign, and then I'm going to click on this cell over here, 1, well, that contains the 1. Then I'm going to multiply. I'm going to use the cell address. I'm not going to click on the 1 at the top of the column. I want this to be G3. Let me actually type that in, and I'm going to type in $G, $3. Okay, it's a bit weird looking, has nothing to do with money either, but $G, $3. When I click on that, or hit enter for that, I get 1 times 1 equals 1. Now if I copy it down, and I got 1 too far, so we'll get rid of that. I have 1 times 1, I have 1 times 2, I have 1 times 3. And if I click on this one here for 4 again, notice what's happened. Going down the 1, 2, 3 on the right left-hand side, the formula is updated. It started out at 1, it's moved to 2, moved to 3, moved to 4. But the one at the top of the column did not update. It's the dollar sign that holds it in place. I'm going to try that again with one over here. And I'm going to adjust it just a little bit. More or less going to be the same thing. So this is now going to be cell I3, because that's the one I'm going to want. Dollar sign. Click over here. That one I wanted to update. I'm going to copy it down. I'm going to move with it. Times. Instead of writing $I, $3, I'm going to type I, $3. I'm going to leave the first dollar sign off. I'm going to copy that down, fill handle, and I get 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. It's working out. And if I double click on one, the top of the column, the 3, stays put, and then the left side of that table updates. And I only used $1 sign. Okay, and I used that again, if you will, you can see it here. I used it for in front of the 3. So I just had I without a dollar sign, I $3. And what that did, the dollar sign locked the row position, because this is row 3. It had nothing to do with the number 3. It was row 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete a couple of bits out of here so that I can work with going across a row, doing the same kind of thing. Start out with the equal sign. I'm going to click on my number 1. Now again, if I work across the row, I want the 1 to update when I copy the formula over, so I want to go from 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. But I always want it to go back to the same 5 on the left. So I've got so far G3 times, in this case, I want the column to stay put. I want it to be locked. So now I'm going to do $F. Oops, I missed the dollar sign. $F. And then just the number, where am I at here? This is why I like to click 8. Yep. Okay, so $F8. I'm only using the $1 sign, but now it's in front of the letter. Hit enter. Looks like that worked. 1 times 5, but the real secret is if I copy it over. Now I've got 5 times 2, I've got 5 times 4, and if I double click on one, the top row was updated as I copied the formula over to the next, but the left-hand column stayed put, never changed. Okay, I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to type the formula in one time, and I'm going to do it as, actually I'm going to show you one more thing. If I click on this cell here, which is what I was doing, if I now press the F4 key, very top row of the keys, so not the letter F or the number 4, but the function 4, F4 key. If I click it once, I get $2 signs. If I click it twice, I get a different dollar sign. If I click it a third time, and if I click it a fourth time, I go back to there. So I'm going to go to, this with $F4 times, click up here, press the F4 key, to $3, hit enter, If I copy that down this way, oops, not there, down this way, and then I carry it across, I have a times table for my first 5. I got my up to my 5 times table. Okay, that was a lot. So just to recap that, what I can do over here, so revisit this one, and then I'm going to get you to do the add 29 on your own. So I want to do a formula. I'm going to take this number plus whatever's in this cell here, but I want that cell to be locked in place. So I'm going to hit the F4 key. That puts dollar signs on it. That means 22, and then as I copy that down, it should be 13 plus 17, double click, yep, that 17 is still there. It should be 37 and 17, double click, still there. That becomes a really, really important kind of thing that we can do to a function. I'm going to get you as a practice to finish off this one here where I'm adding 29 and to do the 12 times table. And then we should be able to handle all kinds of different functions with absolute cell references. By the way, not everything needs an absolute cell reference. Up here, where'd it go? Up here, I didn't want absolute cell references. So it's important to know when to use them and when not to use them. And that requires practice. And we'll get lots in class.